people were coming down to do their laundry at like 3 in the morning. We'd be down there pushing miniatures around. And inevitably, what they would say is that Dungeons and Dragons? And we were like, no. You know, it's in the same.
Oh, it's the other game where you push metal guys around in a space and fight things with dice.
But right, sometimes it is easier just to say, yeah, that's it. You got it? All right, talk to you later.
That was actually one of the best parts about actually going to work on D&D for a while, was that up until then in my career, when I explained to like my relatives or my neighbors what I did, I'd be like, have you heard of Dungeons and Dragons? And they might usually would say yes. And I'd be like, okay, well, I work in games like that, but not that. And then I could graduate to saying, like, I work on that. So, the one that you've heard of, that's what I do.
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly used it as a generic shorthand for any number of other games, just because it's easier. But
the popular conception, it's I think it's D&D, whatever. But you know, amongst all of us who work on companies that have specific brands, we're like, no, that's not the same. But yeah, popularly.
Yes, sir.
Well, I was hoping you'd get back to Jason's favorite cliche, which I don't think. But after that, I'd like to hear what each of your guys' major dislike throughout the game system or whatnot. Like, personally, it was page breaking. Whoever was doing the page breaking for almost every single edition, like, it's a reference book. The last thing I want to do is this on a book. Can we get it on one?
4th edition's a lot better.
all right, Jason.
I don't know. I've always been, like, as a GM, I'm always terribly addicted to, like, the evil undead overlord cliche that, you know, he dwells in some far-off land and raises some army of undead and drags them to your town. I don't know how many times I've used it, but probably about 5 too many.
That's everything.
It's just fun. As it turns out, yeah, you know, it's just kind of fun and creepy and entertaining. So I tend to use that one on occasion. I don't know if it's exactly my favorite. I also like, you know, the dragon living in his lair. You know, that's kind of the prototypical dragon encounter that whenever you seem to run into them, that's, you know, their shtick. But, you know, once again, I don't think they're bad. I think, you know, I really enjoy, you know, putting a good spin on them. You know, it's like, oh, the dragon has kidnapped the princess. Well, you go rescue the princess only to find out that the princess really is the dragon, you know, and, you know, things like that. I think they're useful and they're fun ways to play with people's expectations. And, but, yeah, you know, that's kind of what they are.
Don't forget the ogre magi polymorphed into a half.
How many times have I seen that? Wait, none. All right.
At least 2 old ones.
Our dislikes, huh?
I got one. So this doesn't really bother me in terms of play very much because it doesn't come up, but it comes up because we avoid the issue when we play. And the thing that I've never been able to satisfy myself with in terms of a solution is, what does it mean for the people who know the player characters that they are shooting up in power so quickly, right? Like they come back to their hometown or whatever, and now they're nth level, and right? Is it everybody rises in level like that, and then you got this really weird world, right? Where
Everyone's Superman. But
at some point, right? Like in their life cycle, the life cycle of a human becomes, you know, you end up as some kind of sort of hero. Or nobody else does that, and then there's some kind of freak, right? Like they come back and all of a sudden, what's going on? And then, you know, they come to the next town, and sure, they're only 7th level or whatever, but the 10th level people all know they're going to be 12th level really soon. So, look at them. In a couple of years, they've gone from spud farmers to ogre killers, and pretty soon it'll be dragons and...
Then you retire and open the bar, and you know you'd never mess with the bartender. He's probably
retired.
Yeah, but the funny part is he was 0 level 3 weeks ago.
So I never know how to make that part of the actual human being's experience of coming back to their hometown and now being 7th level, and what does that mean? And I know enough about how people in power maintain their power throughout history that I know that anyone who's going to be a threat to the 10th level guy in a year is probably going to be dead in a week.
But your campaign has assumptions built into it based on that story that I haven't even gotten to. Because my players, for the most part, are orphans and outsiders and only children and half demonic spawn, you know, cast out of the pits of hell.
Okay.
So,
They never go home, you're saying.
what I'm saying is they have no home life ever.
They are freaks.
They are freaks, and everyone kind of used them that way. A half elf, a tiefling, and whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so, at least you guys are, your players are generating characters with backstory.
Yeah.
Just always burn down the town that the kid came from, so there's no one to go back to.
Right, that's the Conan solution.
That's why they still come along with an Amber River. So.
You can tell that Jonathan did Ars Magica because in that game you had a home, which was your covenant.
Yes.
There are things that you did when you were back there, and there are actually often good reasons to stay home and do your research rather than go on that particular adventure.
And it was also a nice solution for the TPK in Ars Magica because, you know, one mage and
That's right.
and his folk went out, well, he might not come back, but there were still others.
It wasn't the whole group. It wasn't
Right.
the whole cast of characters.
I guess if I have a beef, it's not specific to any edition or even D&D as a whole, but to any RPG. Is that I feel like over time it just gets too complicated, and it happens for a couple of reasons. One, like lots of people playing the game and coming up with all these corner cases. And if you're a designer, you know, when someone finds a corner case, your first response is, I must fix that. And then you come up with some kind of kludge, and then 5 years later, someone else is kludging a kludge of a kludge, and you just have this mess that was created to fix a problem that wasn't a problem in 99.9% of games ever. It was just like someone found this weird thing. And that can lead you down this path of madness where you're defining and defining and defining it. Ultimately, you end up with something that's just this like unwieldy mess that becomes a barrier to new people getting in and turns off existing players. And so on.
But that's a good thing because then there can be a rebellion against that kludgy system.
There can be, or a new edition.
Or a new edition that just wipe the slate clean.
And you know, I recently did this game, Dragon Age, and part of the idea of it was to do a real like introductory game. And so, you know, it's like a box set, 2 64-page books, player's book, GM book, dice, map. You know, very simple, you know, easy mechanics, easy to get into. And already it's seeing the feedback from it. It's like people, like, they long to complicate it. You know, freelancers sending proposals for ways they would make it more complicated. And one guy on RPGNet was like, I want a fatigue system. And I was just like, you know what?
Let him go write one.
Well, for him, I'm not putting it in the game.
No.
It's like, no, you know, I will blow my brains out for the fatigue system.
How about encumbrance? How do you feel about that?
I never used it. I never used. Remember in first edition, there were the little modifiers for each weapon versus each armor class type. I dutifully copied them over on my gold character sheets, but I never used them.
I guess we're going down this way, Bruce.
I don't think I gave my go-to or cliche either, which is don't wake that which lies sleeping, which is something I probably have gone too far too many times as well. I like it.
Shouldn't have brought that up.
I don't, as far as the beef goes, you guys had some really good ones.
Well, you're still working for the company, you can't really say.
Maybe, so kick second edition. Everybody else does.
I feel like second edition was unfairly aligned, really.
I think it's fairly maligned.
I think we'll have to skip me on this one.
All right, we'll skip you on that. That's fine.
I got one.
Yeah.
I think, you know, a lot of times one of the things that kind of irks me is like the forced implication of the rules define every aspect of the game world, where it's like, I mean, you know, I think we leveled up and are now immensely more powerful as one facet of that, but it gets down to things like, well, why are there oil lamps in this tavern? Why